Hello, welcome to CLC News. Today is the 1st of February 2021 and it's the second video that we're actually releasing today. What we'd like to do just now is just have a chat with yourself. Given the fact that you've actually tuned in to watch this video just now, we'd just like to highlight one or two issues that people have raised over the last few months in relation to common law, the common law court, and basically what's going on with the existing system and the problems which are related to COVID and the lockdown, etc. So what we'd like to do is ask you a couple of questions first. Now, you're sitting down to watch this video. I would like to put it to you just now that this information is simple, it's straightforward, and that any reasonably minded man or woman would be able to understand this. Now, asking yourself, do you believe that you are reasonably minded? Now, providing that's the case, what we're going to do is explain how this concept of common law works and basically why it's applicable to men and women, as in living men and women. So, we'd like to ask you a few questions. First of all, we've determined that you're reasonably minded, which seems to be an acknowledgement that the state require for, obviously, it says dealing with various issues in law, that the individuals have to be reasonably minded. Now that we've actually accepted the fact that you are, we wish to point out a few things to you. If I was to turn around and say to you that currently you are a slave, how would you feel about that? Many people believed that slavery was abolished hundreds of years ago. It wasn't. It was actually just changed. They disguised what they were doing and they actually increased the slave population that they had. Now, we're going to highlight a couple of issues here just to try and explain where we're standing. You pointed out you're reasonably minded, so we're going to present you with some facts. First of all, many people, myself included, did not know this, but when you were actually born, the government insisted on having your birth registered. Now, when they informed your parents that they were required to register your birth, they actually threatened them with fines as well for refusal to do so. But what happened as a result is, in most cases, people registered the birth of their child. What actually happened at that birth was that the government then, at the same time, registered and created a legal entity. Now, the legal entity can be called a fictitious name, it can be called a legal name, it can also be called, and it has been called, a straw man. There is a video on the site and the Common Law Court website which you can find out, which you can see, under the community heading. And if you look at the video section and legal fiction, you'll see that there's a video there regarding Meet Your Straw Man. It's worthwhile watching. However, if we get back to the creation of the legal fiction, what we're going to do is look to see what's happened there. Well, the government will only deal with you throughout your life. This is through a contractual agreement. Now, for them to contract you with you, there has to be an agreement, and there has to be obviously more than one party. So we've established the fact that you were born. We've established the fact that you had parents, which would be at the birth as well, and the government are involved. So according to the state rules, now it's the rules, it's not laws, but basically it's rules. Because there is an agreement between more than one party, and in this case there is, what you have is a contractual agreement. Contract law applies. Now, for a contract to be valid, there has to be various things applicable. For example, it says you can go in, there are 4, 5, 6 different things that are applicable to ensure that the contract is valid. However, what we're going to do is just pick up one, the simple one. Was there full disclosure? Which simply means the parties involved in the contract, were they all informed about the creation of the legal title, the fictitious name. So, you were born. Have the government ever told you that you have a legal title? No, they don't. Have the government ever informed your parents about what they were doing? Well, again, no, they haven't done that. So, because there was no full disclosure, that means that the original agreement, the contract, is void. Not only is it void, it means if the government were to use your legal title, now the legal title tends to be written in capital letters and they tend to attach a title. For example, my legal fiction, legal title is Mr. John Smith. They refer to it as a dead fiction. It's simply because if you were to look at a gravestone, you would see that the name on the gravestone is written in capital letters, uppercase. It's a dead entity. It doesn't exist. It's not real. So therefore, the legal entity they have is also dead. It's a dead fiction. Now, you'll note if you look at various things that you have, official documents, for example, a bank card, your name will be written in capital letters, simply because it's a dead fiction. You don't exist. The government only deal with you as a legal fiction, a title. They do not and cannot deal with you as a living man because the government, believe it or not, are a registered company. As a registered company, they're run for profit. They're not there for your benefit. They're there to conduct business and make profit. So therefore, they will only ever deal with the legal fiction. This is how they operate in commerce, and the fact that they will not deal with you as a living man or a living woman confirms that. Now, because the government set up the birth name, this is the legal fiction, the fictitious name, they've actually taken control over your life. Now, the interesting thing is, when we look back at the slavery issue, what the government have said years and years ago, when supposedly they abolished slavery, they didn't. They said to the community at the time who were slaves, and they tend to be African coloured, they said to them, look, this is no longer acceptable. What we're going to do is integrate you and put you into society. We're going to create, you will no longer be slaves. We will create this new society here, and you will be welcome to join in. You'll be privileged. It says you will no longer be a slave. You will have rights like everyone else. You will have privileges like everyone else. And then what they've done is set up a new society, a structure whereby citizens, civilians, can actually join this society. They then, as a privileged citizen, have the right to obtain various things, which they call privileges. For example, you have a privilege to drive. To do so, you obtain a license. You pay for a license. You pay the government. Now, bearing in mind, you're allowed to travel anywhere you want. Why do you need a license? Well, you need a license because the government need paid. So they say you have a privilege. It's not a privilege. You had it anyway. It was an inherent birthright. They then turn around and say, well, look, what you can do is you can do X, Y, and Z. But to do so, you have to be licensed. You have to be granted permission. You have to pay the system. If you obtain a position, you could be a licensed physician, you could be a tradesman, you could be anything. It says, but you're working through their system, you're licensed through their system, and again, you're paid through their system. They've set up a monetary system, which is not based on money, it's credit, it's fiat. It's a fiat system. It's not real, it's not backed. It's literally paper money. It doesn't exist, it's worthless. But they've actually convinced the people that it is worth money, so the people obviously use it as currency. Now, what the people do is use this system, which is all based on credit. The bankers obviously use that against you to make money off you, and they decide what we're going to do is give you money. It's worthless anyway, but you find that you're working for a wage, which is now, as is dwindling, and people are getting less. The money that you actually have, you cannot afford to live off of. You don't have any luxuries, you don't have any treats, you struggle to feed your family, and yet they're supposed to be looking after you. Now, having done that, when they pay you wages, or if they give you any sort of benefits, salary or income, they then have the right to tax it, because you are one of the privileged within society. But by paying tax, it lines the pockets of the 1% or the politicians or the people that's in charge. Politicians supposedly are voted in to protect the people. They don't. They're there to obviously keep their house in order and to make money. You see, they don't work for the people. The politicians, when asked questions, will never give a straight answer. They basically lie. They refuse to answer questions. Well, what's the point in having them? If they're not held accountable to the people, they don't answer to the people, they shouldn't be there. But the people supposedly put them in there to look after them. It's not being done. They're not fit for purpose. They shouldn't be there. Just start to think about it. Are you a slave? Do you work? Is your life acceptable? Or do you pay the state? Do you pay to look after them? During the situation just now in COVID, we have a situation whereby the people are suffering. Are the politicians having to reduce their pay? Are they going on furlough? It says, is Parliament closing down? Are they going down to a part-time week? No, they're looked after. Anyone that fits their agenda will be looked after and they'll be paid accordingly to keep the people in place. If they don't, this is have a use for you, they'll keep you at home. They keep you at home, they keep you locked up, they dictate when you can go out, where you can go, what will be open when you go out. They then try and take action against you and fine you for going out. This is unless you have a valid reason. They dictate what's valid and what's acceptable. They have no right to do so. You have inherent rights. They cannot detain you. You're not allowed to. They can't charge you. They've even stated themselves it's not law. They actually impose penalties and fines which are not valid. They're not lawful. They cannot enforce. And yet they're doing so through bullying and threats. I was lucky enough to be born in Scotland. Lucky enough, enjoying Scotland. We refer to Scotland as being lucky is because we have a document in Scotland called the Declaration of Arbroath. It's actually quite a good document, because it confirmed that everyone born in Scotland is born sovereign, free, which is great. Now, this has been argued in the UK Parliament, by the Scottish Parliament and the SNP party, and recently, in the last couple of years, the UK Parliament had again confirmed that we are born sovereign in Scotland. I would put it to you that wherever you're born in the world, you're also sovereign, because when you are born, you are not in a system. What happens is when you are born, someone will literally grab you. So it may be the existing country you stay in, it may be a religion, it could be a cult, anyone. They will actually try to take ownership of you. And by doing so, you then are within their system, whether it be a society, whether it be a state, whether it be a country, whether it be religion, it doesn't really matter. Someone will grab you and then you're in the system and their rules apply. However, when you are born, you are sovereign. Now, as you grow up and learn, you have a choice. As a free man, as an individual, you can then dictate, no, this is unacceptable, therefore I'm going to assert my birthrights and I wish to stand as a sovereign man or a sovereign woman. You have the right. So not only is it applicable in Scotland, it's applicable worldwide, which obviously we've used and highlighted in the Declaration for the Common Law Court. This confirms that everyone is born sovereign and you have inherent birthrights. Now, to get back to the issue of slavery, what we found out just now is during the COVID and the lockdown and the behaviour of the government, so to speak, they're actually then confirming that they have the authority to hold you in your house, to detain you, to fine you for going out. They're telling you to wear masks. They're refusing you hospital treatment by closing down the hospitals. And again, even if you're in hospital, they dictate what you can and can't take, pharmaceutical drugs. The society is crumbling just now because they're closing down businesses. How can they expect people to feed their families, to keep a roof over their head, and to have any sort of quality of life when they're closing down businesses? They're preventing you from working, and again, they're reducing your income, let alone the effect it has on people's health, mental well-being, physical health. This is simply because they're locked up. The amount of people have committed suicide because of this, because of the stress they're under, is unbelievable. The fact that we have supposedly a government, and the government are allowing people, children and families, to starve at home in today, it's ridiculous. We have families at home cannot feed themselves, they're struggling for money, can't heat themselves, can't keep a roof over their head, and the politicians think this is acceptable. The fact that they are doing nothing at all to prevent it, it should remove them immediately from office. It's disgusting what they're doing. Now, with these things in mind, bearing what we discussed earlier, as a reasonably minded man or woman, do you still believe you're not a slave? Do you have free choice to go anywhere you want? Does the government restrict you? Can you live your life the way you wish to? Are you prevented from going out? Can you work when you want to? Can you travel where you want to? Do you still have an income to live off? Do you have to pay taxes? Do you have to comply with their rules? All these things, if you think about it, will confirm that you are slaves. The government have been very careful. They've actually hid this. They haven't changed slavery. They've hidden it away. They're using the legal fiction, and they're using a statutory system to harm the people. To confirm that you exist, you don't have to leave the existing system. You don't have to change your lifestyle. All you need to do is confirm that you are a living man or a living woman, and for no charge at all, you can submit a declaration to the common law court confirming that. By submitting this declaration, it's an open statement confirming that you are born, nothing more, nothing less. You've confirmed that you were born. You give personal information regarding your mother, your father, where you were born, the date of birth you were born, and then obviously sign off by submitting your name. Click on submit. You then receive a reference number, which is your birth certificate reference under common law. That confirms you're a living man or a living woman. By doing this, it will protect you against the state. It confirms that you are living. It's the only way in the world that you can actually do this. This is by confirming this, and we've actually achieved quite a lot of success with these documents in confirming these very facts. This is when we've been targeted by the state. And we've had many successes just now. Even recently, we've actually returned 5 children to their natural parents. This is because the state had removed them unlawfully. So think about it, please. Do you believe that you're still free? Are you a slave? Do you wish to protect yourself? Do you wish to protect your children? Think about it. Think about what the government's doing. If it's unacceptable, sign up to the common law court simply by making a declaration of your birth. By doing this, it does protect you, and you can then proceed. You're then protected because you're standing with like-minded people, men and women, living men and women. Once you've done your birth certificate, the other thing I would like to say just now is there is one additional option which may be beneficial. By taking ownership of the legal title, that's the fictitious name that was created at your birth, once you have confirmed your birth by making the declaration, you then have confirmed your standing. To protect yourself against harm caused by misuse of the legal fiction, the fictitious name, you can submit an application for ownership online. Now, this will be done by going to the website. Once you've logged in to the account that you've created, go to the deeds section, and under the deeds section there'll be a heading, fictitious names. If you click onto fictitious names, scroll down, read the information, and there's a link at the bottom of the page. By clicking this link, you can then make an application for ownership. Now, effectively, what you're doing is claiming the legal title that's attached to you. Because the government have used this fraudulently, they're not allowed to use it. Because the legal fiction still exists, the fictitious name, you can be harmed through its unlawful use. So what you want to do to protect yourself is claim ownership of it. Now, it's been discussed with people, like-minded people, that the rightful owner for the fictitious name should be the individual that was given the birth name, which would be yourself. So once you confirm that you exist as a living man or woman, you have the right to claim the fictitious name. It still exists. It's on various government documentation. It says it's there and it can be used against you. So by claiming ownership of the fictitious name, it doesn't cost anything, but by doing this, it will then protect you against the state. So please fill out the form on the website after your birth to claim ownership of your fictitious name and join us at the Common Law Court. Thank you for watching this. Hopefully it's been informative. Hopefully we've actually made you sit and think about this situation. Are you a slave? Do you wish to remain a slave? Are you happy with what the government's doing? It's time to stand up and do something about it. Please join us with the Common Law Court. And again, if you like this information, please share this on social media. Share it to your friends, pass it on, and again, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining, and again, if you watch in the following days, there will be some more videos going up shortly. Thank you, and goodbye.